Welcome to our mock draft episode of the Jag Bros. We are three brothers who are diehard Jags fans. I'm Jack, along with Joey and JT, and this is the time of the year. This is mock draft. This is real draft time. We are just a few days out, less than a week from round one of the NFL draft. The Jags have a top five pick. They have 10 overall picks, and new GM James Gladstone has said, we're going to build through the draft. He said in free agency, their goal was to raise the floor, and the goal is to build through the draft. So we're about to find out. This is going to be his first draft in Jacksonville, along with Liam Coen having a big say. And we are on the ESPN NFL Draft Simulator. So all those who are listening to the podcast, I encourage y'all to check out the video so you can follow along and see who's on the board. We'll try to describe a little bit. But before we hit play, Joey, how you feeling kind of about the NFL draft and the Jags right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different type of draft process. Not many rumors because we haven't used any of our top visits. I've heard that we've met with a few people virtually, but everyone that we've met with have been people that you would get undrafted. It seems like James is doing a lot of research into like who he's going to pick after the draft, and everyone that's going to be drafted is a complete toss up in the air. No one kind of knows what's going on. The only kind of rumor that's been around is there was a video clip of Mason Graham working out, and it looks like he's wearing a Jaguars dry fit shirt while he's working out. So that was a pretty cool thing to see. Maybe that means something. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But that's about the only kind of peak we've seen from the Jaguars on this draft. But a lot of rumors going around on X, people thinking they know what they're going to do or they know Liam or anything like that. But it'll be kind of crazy to see what we end up doing.
Yeah, and it's interesting right now. We've seen rumors this week of FanDuel odds, I think, getting better for us to pick Ashton Gentry or Genty, the running back out of Boise State. Feels like a very big stretch, but who knows? Maybe there's something that somebody else knows that we don't. And I think the general consensus of this draft is the top end talent is not there as it has been in some prior years, but there's some really good round two, round three, round four talent. And there's kind of a healthy bulk of people that we want to go. So this should be a fun draft to go through it round by round with you guys. This may actually be one of those situations where you do want to accumulate some picks there in that middle.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get rolling. Again, we're going to do all 7 rounds. So here's kind of our flow for it. JT, as the oldest, the eldest statesman of the Jag Bros, you have the privilege and the pressure of either making a lot of Jags fans really, really happy or a lot of fans upset because you're going to pick in our first pick, the number 5. Joey, you've got our second round pick. I'll take our third pick. And then from there, we'll kind of do a collaborative approach for each of the picks. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start unless, JT, are you wanting to trade up and make a big crazy move towards the top of the draft?
Hey, that would certainly have some ripples that people were not expecting. I don't think we will trade up. Maybe we trade up to round 2 or to the 2 or 3 slot to get Hunter, but that feels like a pipe dream for Jags fans.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to hit start. And again, this will kind of be a mix of what we do versus what we think the Jags might do as well. So I'll kind of read
Graham's off the board.
So in this mock draft here, I'll talk about what just happened. Cam Ward went to the Titans. I think that's pretty well expected. Travis Hunter going number 2 to the Browns. And then they went Abdul Carter to the Giants, which again expected, and Mason Graham to the Patriots. This, in my situation, is probably worst case scenario for the Jaguars. I outlined this about a month or so ago, where I think there's 4 people, really 3 guys that we're targeting: Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Mason Graham. If all of them go in front of us, I personally would like us to trade back. If we don't trade back, I think you have to go one of the offensive tackles. Genty makes no sense to me. The tight end Tyler Warren is a fine guy, but that seems way too high to be taking him, even though we let Ingram go. I think I would have to go Will Campbell at that point, the offensive tackle, just because there's not a whole lot of other guys that I love. What do you guys think of that?
I think maybe there should be a ring trade from the Bears to come up to get Ashton Genty, and we get their 3rd round pick.
All right.
Possibly, but like that.
You can make that trade.
Genty, yes, but I just don't think Genty is not going to warrant a lot of people trying to trade up for him all the way up to the 5th pick.
The only one that I think that will have.
I agree with that, Joey. I just don't think he's not a quarterback, and he's not somebody that people are going to be overly excited to trade. And so, if you're trading with the Bears, how far do we drop on the 1st round there, Jack?
We go to 10.
10.
And that's. They pretty much said if there will be a trade, it will be the Bears to trade up for Genty because they love him so much.
They would jump the Raiders, who the Raiders would make a lot of sense if they went Genty. So to your point, JT, I think if we do see a trade, it's not going to see crazy value. Like you're not going to see multiple firsts or anything because you're not trading up for a quarterback, but you could maybe see a 1st and a 3rd. Because
that's why I said a 3rd. Because normally you would say like a 2nd to move back that far, but since it is for a running back, you may only get a 3rd. But
there are JT, you're the GM here.
There are 2 offensive tackles. It depends on how they rate those. After that, I think there's a bit of a fall off. I would just take Will Campbell, assuming that the trades are not there.
Here, I'll propose a trade. You can pick between Will Campbell or Bears trade up, and you get a 3rd round and a 7th round.
Yeah. Let's take Will Campbell.
All right.
So a lot of people love Will Campbell as the best offensive lineman on the board, but here's the $1 million question as we draft him and Joey gets ready for pick number 2. What position are you going to play him on the O-line, JT?
Well, before that, I put out on X, if we do go offensive line in the first 2 rounds, who would you like to see be replaced? And I put out a graph of Walker Little, Ezra Cleveland, or Ryan, the new center. And let's see.
I think you will probably see him start at tackle. If you can have a rookie, it's not ideal having a rookie tackle playing, but I think you'll see him and Walker Little most likely move to the inside. We've seen him play guard at times, and it gives more flexibility to just have a little bit more depth at that position. That's been a problem over the last few years.
At what position?
Tackle. Probably left tackle.
We just signed 3 people for depth on tackle. That's no.
I recognize that, but you
don't sign a round 1 for depth.
No, he's saying start at left tackle.
I'm saying he starts. He starts at left tackle.
Oh,
and you move Walker Little inside.
Okay, I mean, 42% people say they want Ezra Cleveland to be replaced.
Exactly. You would replace Ezra Cleveland with Walker Little.
I don't think Walker Little's that much better of a guard, though.
Well, let him duke it out. They've said they want competition in Jacksonville, and and it brings up an interesting debate, Joey, as you kind of look at who's on the board here at round 2, pick 36, and I'll scroll a little bit for you. But I do think, again, and I've said this before, I think Gladstone is going to be thinking 2 to 3 years in the future. So at some level, is that the best pick for this year? Maybe, maybe not. But if he's not convinced Walker Little is a top 10, top 15 left tackle, and we just don't know because he hasn't had a full season, then he goes and gets his guy. And if he loves Will Campbell, which a lot of people do, he's got versatility to play outside or in.
Right. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I would start in at left guard, Will Campbell, for a year. You let Walker Little play left tackle, and then at the end of the year, you can either
Who's your long-term left tackle though? Why would you pick a top 5 player to displace him for a year. Like they've already
Why
I think
learn a
Will
whole new
Campbell can
position
be a
and get
better
back?
guard than Walker Little can be a guard.
potential.
Why
I don't disagree with that statement, but why? Because long term, Walker Little is most likely not on this team unless he has some sort of friendly deal and is used more as a
Yeah,
backup
but
because of
it's
how
like
we.
when you are in Madden or whatever, you move your left tackle to left guard and he drops down 30%. I don't want a 60% left guard.
This is
when
not
Will
Madden,
Campbell can
Joey.
go
At
in
worst case scenario, you have Walker Little behind the guys, and he comes into play if there's injuries or suspensions or things, which, oh, by the way, almost seems to always happen within our offensive line. So, to me, drafting a top 5 offensive tackle only to move him to guard, A, you way overpaid for the guard position if that's your strategy. B, your
but
goal is to
for
be able
1
to keep
year,
this
he goes
guy
to
on
left
a
tackle next year.
cheaper deal versus what the long-term market is for offensive tackle. And so why? Because then all of a sudden he's starting year 2 for the first time at tackle. Like it just that to me makes very little sense.
Yeah, but if he's ready to start at left tackle now, what's going to be the difference in year 2? He'll still be ready to start.
Because you got to learn a whole new position. I think the big difference is just mentality. Where I mean, I'm not going to speak for you, JT, but I think we kind of lean towards, hey, let's build towards winning in 2 to 3 years. Where Joey, I feel like you're kind of more in a win now mode, which I get. Like the AFC South is wide open. I just don't think the pieces are there, which is why I also don't love Ginty. I know a lot of Jags fans love Ginty at 5, but I think that's a win now move, and I just don't think the Jags are in that zone. But we'll see.
Everything that we've done in the offseason has pretty much proven we're not in a win now mode. Like we are trying to build something that is quote unquote more sustainable in the next 2 to 3 years.
We can still be in a win now mode, even if we don't build through free agency. All we did was raise the floor and be able to pick any person that we want to in the draft instead of being forced to take someone.
You're probably not letting Ingram and Christian Kirk walk because they probably still have at least one more year.
Ingram doesn't fit the system. And then Christian Kirk, I have seen now that Liam Coen thinks that Parker Washington is as good as Christian Kirk, and it's just not worth the money.
We've seen both of them play consistently.
And Christian Kirk gets hurt every 5 seconds.
Okay, but that is long-term moves to like
Correct.
replacing. What's Parker Washington's best year right now? 1 second, I'm looking.
Couple hundred yards. He's also had some injuries as well. But let's go as you're pulling that up.
This entire team is based on possibility. None of it's based on stats. You're doing it wrong, JT.
Exactly. So if you're just basing it off possibility, you're not building for a win now. If you're doing more of a win now, you want people that have quote unquote proven it a little bit more frequently.
Well, we got round 1 in the book. And to be fair, I think round 1 is a very tough spot because it feels more and more like those first 4 are going to happen. And just personally, everyone who's left on the board, I think is kind of a mid first round guy. So I think there is a little bit of a reach. I love Will Campbell. He does have shorter arms, so we know Trim Balky would never take him. But he was very, very good at LSU, and he's got the size and profile, and obviously, good stats at left tackle. Where he plays, or if the Jags take him, that is a debate. But Joey, let's keep it rolling because we still got 9 more picks, and we are round 2, and now you've got the keys to the car, to the mock draft machine. And so give us a couple of these guys that you're looking at who are on the board here.
Yeah, I like Maxwell, but after seeing the interview of Jarian Jones with Jamal St. Cyr, where he said that he actually wants to play outside and this regime wants him to play outside, I don't think cornerback is as important now. I still think we take one, just not as soon. So that brings up wide receiver, Jayden Higgins. Love him. I think he's an incredible wide receiver. Don't want tight end. I'm on the boat. Brenton Strange is going to be just fine this year. TJ Sanders is a good D tackle. I don't know. I mean, D tackle's very deep. So I don't think I would want to take him just right now. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Higgins for the second pick. Get me a wide receiver, 6'4", almost 218. He can block. He can catch anything. He had the lowest drop percentage out of all college football with a 1.6%. Not the fastest guy, but he's going to be able to catch everything, even if it's
Still
contested.
4.4 at that
I know.
size.
I
It's
mean, he's not
moving.
slow. Not slow at
Yeah,
all.
Faster
it's
than Gabe Davis.
Yes. Well, I mean, Gabe Davis
faster
wasn't
than
even mentioned by
Restrepo.
Liam Coen about the wide receiver room. So, I mean, that just kind of gives you a hint as of right now.
Yeah, I said this on a mock draft you and I did, Joey, a while back. I love wide receiver early because you don't realize how much of depth is a real thing. You've got BTJ and hopefully De'Ami Brown hits, but he's also on a 1-year deal. So best case scenario, he hits, and then all of a sudden you got to pay him a good amount of money because the wide receiver market is stupid. Gabe Davis, I have no interest in. He's only on the team because you can't cut him and make any money. Then Parker Washington is interesting, but eventually you're gonna have to figure out too, is he a legit slot? And Higgins and BTJ can both play slot or outside.
Yeah,
Right.
if you almost have to go wide receiver with one of the first 3 picks. I know a lot of fantasy drafts have
After the
talked a
third
lot about.
round, it dies.
Yeah, a lot of fantasy drafts talk about the draft capital and draft investment people put, and even people like Dameon Pierce, who's a running back that I was really high on, being a 4th-round guy. The draft capital wasn't high enough, and it's proving the fact that he's not potentially a long-term answer. So it's rare to find that 6th-round gem or that undrafted gem, even when they pop for a year, like in Allen Hurns for us years back. I think you have to make some sort of investment at that position, especially considering we let 2 of our most targeted wide receiver and tight ends go this past offseason.
All right, Jack, you're up. You got Stewart, the edge that everyone loves. You got Cam Scatabo. You got Alfred Collins, a great nose tackle.
Jaylen Royals is a guy I would have loved if you went a different direction there, Joey.
Yep.
Ooh, I was kind of hoping to look at a safety here, but if you're following along, Jaylen Reed is probably the top one who had a good year filling in for Penn State when their safety was out. You've got some good edge rushers. This is something we've talked about on the Jag Bros for like 2 years. Hey, can we please get someone who can rush the passer outside of Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker? And fortunately, both those guys have stayed healthy at a remarkable rate, because if one of those guys goes down, you just have no one. You have Miles Cole, who was a 7th-round pick last year, and then Yasser Abdullah, who we liked in the 5th round a couple of years ago and just looked slow and undersized and just hasn't put up the numbers. So I am going to do Josiah Stewart.
Wait, go all the way up to the top?
Sure.
TJ Sanders is still available, who Joey kind of liked in the 2nd round. You still want to go that edge rush over TJ Sanders?
I
don't
think
think he's dropping that far.
Yeah, that's part of it too. I don't know that TJ Sanders makes it to the 3rd. That feels like, I mean, he's a guy that could go early to mid 2nd. So I kind of like this for a realistic standpoint. I like the Jaguars connection because we brought in the linebacker coach from Michigan this past year as our assistant linebacker coach for Jacksonville. Josiah Stewart had the highest pass rush win rate in all of college football, almost like 27%. He is undersized, so he's probably not going to be day one a 3-down player, but that's kind of perfect because he can come in, learn from Josh Hines Allen, learn from Trayvon Walker, be a guy that is just pure pass rushing, can develop into a full-time edge as the Jags figure out long-term Trayvon Walker, all that sort of stuff. So Josiah Stewart is my guy here. And now it gets fun and interesting because the Jags have another 3rd-round pick, and now it's just chaos, free for all, because all of us get to have an input in each of these next picks.
All right. Still got Cam Scatabo.
College football playoff hero. Well, I guess not hero because they didn't win, but legend.
So I like Scatterbo. I think he could be a decent NFL player, but I don't really think he fits Liam Cohen's system very well. He wants running backs to be multi-purposeful and to be able to
Yeah.
catch the balls out of the backfield. And he typically likes a faster back. Uh, so it'd be fun to get him. But like honestly, Dylan, I wouldn't be surprised if we were facing this and we wanted to go running back that they go Dylan Sampson over Scatterbo just for that reason.
I agree. That's a good thought. Let's see who else is on the board here, and y'all just kind of stop me. So Jaylen Reed is still on the board, safety from Penn State. You can look. It feels like a move where you might look secondary. Billy Bowman Jr. from Oklahoma.
I like the safety pick here. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I like the safety pick here.
Jonas Sanker.
I wouldn't say it's that big of a stretch for Jaylen Reed. A lot of people have him late third, early fourth. So this isn't a huge stretch, I would say. There's a good possibility that he goes late third.
It's a good possibility he starts with who's in our secondary room or
Exactly.
safety room.
So let's grab him.
All right. I think well, that was beautiful. Hopefully all these picks are going to be in unison. Jaylen Reed, again, had a very, very good year when Penn State's starting safety went down. So now let's just kind of look at who we've taken so far as just a recap. So JT took Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU, number 1. And Joey, you took Jayden Higgins at the top of the second, wide receiver from Iowa State. I selected Josiah Stewart, edge rusher from Michigan. And then we all selected Jaylen Reed, safety from Penn State. So we've gone OT, edge. So we've gotten some trenches and some playmakers as well. So let's look at the board now.
So we're our next pick's right.
Edge guy right there. If we wanted to double dip, and the LSU guy Swinson, he is would be a very good pick for round 4. And as we talked about, we don't have that much depth, so having a fourth guy is not terrible. But we can keep seeing. We can see what is at D tackle.
Yeah, lots of running backs on the board, deep class. That makes sense. Running backs will slide a little bit.
I don't like any of those guys.
Not here at the top of the 4th. JT, any position group you want, or you want a big board for us to look at?
Let's see big board.
All right.
I would like to see offensive guard / center as well.
Scroll down.
So this why be good to, again, check us out on YouTube on this. We'll try to describe some of it. Again, a lot of running backs, few cornerbacks on the board. That could be the option here as well.
Yeah, I kind of want to go corner. The dream would be to go tight end here, maybe, but I just don't see anybody that kind of fits around this profile. So, yeah, the next tight ends are way low. Like they're more slated to be fifth or 6th round guys. So, going corner would make sense from a need perspective. Or maybe we go running back. Maybe we there's a lot of running backs kind of in this area. Do you just take somebody? We're almost certainly going to move on from ETN, and Tank has shown some spurts, but also shown some warts. So it'll be interesting to see what our long-term vision is with him.
It looks like RJ Harvey, the UCF running back, is higher than these cornerbacks, and everyone loves him as a Jag.
Yeah, he is a big.
And
you still have Scatterbo, Sampson, and
very similar to the running back that Tampa Bay drafted.
I would prefer Devin Neal or Dylan Sampson if they're both still available going into the 4th round.
I agree.
Devin Neal would still. I think Sampson would be gone, possibly.
I'd be very happy with Devin Neal.
I'd be happy with Devin Neal too.
Great numbers at Kansas.
Seeing him play at in the Big 12, but I do like some of the highlights from RJ.
All right, so Devin Neal, let's make it happen. Devin Neal, you are a Jacksonville Jaguar, at least on the Jag Bros. But again, day three, it's kind of a mix. You're kind of looking at maybe some of those positions that slip, kind of like running back, and then you're looking for a lot of depth. And James Gladstone, the Rams, had a ton of success finding some day three gems. So hopefully we'll finally get some day three guys instead of who's that kick returner that we took last year that didn't play all year?
Keelan Robinson.
Yes, instead of that guy or a bulky special. So this is our second, fourth round pick. Again, we got an extra third and extra fourth from the Vikings from that trade back last year. So this is pick 126.
Oh, I love a guy. I love somebody at this spot.
Okay, who we got?
Guys, Demetrius Knight, who I think's nickname was Demon Knight. He played for Charlotte and then South Carolina. He really jumped off the film at me when I've watched both South Carolina play and when Florida played Charlotte years ago. I think he's slightly undersized, but I just like how he plays. He'd be a fun one to have on our team and a position group that seems reasonable to be taking linebacker in the back of the fourth.
Yeah, linebacker is a need that's not talked about as much with the Jaguars, but is a need because, as you saw, Devin Lloyd didn't get his fifth year picked up. It didn't seem like they were super high on him or really know what to do with him. So them going to draft a new linebacker that is theirs, I could very much see that as a higher pick than some people think.
I love this move. This is like quintessential what great teams do, typically earlier because they just have a better roster, but you kind of draft 2 to 3 years ahead. Knight may not get a ton of playing time this year, but again, you're drafting and developing. And so all of a sudden he becomes hopefully one of your starting linebackers, probably already year 2. To your point, Joey, with Lloyd potentially gone after next year. Foye getting up there in years, Jaguars legend. And so you hit the linebacker room.
And one of the reasons why I think he's lower than where I think he should be is because he's 25. And so he's one of those 6-year seniors who's played at a ton of different places. So depending on how people view youth, I think people will move him lower than if he was 22 and having a similar type of production.
Good call. So this is our 5th round pick. We have one of these, some of our top players here. You got a Florida guy up there, JT. You want to tell us anything about Dyke, wide receiver?
DK.
DK,
he was a great wide receiver for us. Nothing.
That's the highest I've ever seen him ranked ever.
He had a really good 40 time. I need to double check what his 40 time was, but his measurables were awesome. Florida's an interesting.
I know who I want to take already.
Florida's interesting to look at different. Oh, there's my boy Restrepo there. I'd much rather have him. But Florida's tough because the production on the field is not always one-to-one mapped. I think Billy Napier does a decent job of talent evaluation. He was one of the transfers in, similar to Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall, obviously a first-round pick. This guy's slated for 5th, 6th round area. So I don't know. If you already go wide receiver earlier, it doesn't make a ton of sense. And given the choice between him and Restrepo, I would prefer Restrepo, even though he tested poorly.
No, you don't want.
but I
receiver,
and I'm not advocating.
Sure.
JT just said the letters of the person I want to pick.
I know who you want, but Joey, go ahead and let the people on the pod know who you want. I'd be happy with this pick too.
Jackson Slater.
Great name, by the way.
Great name. A guy who can play guard and possibly center. Played at a smaller school, but tested out of the roof for the combine and during the Senior Bowl. Did very, very well. He could possibly start right away if he beats out Ezra Cleveland, and that's a very possible. I think that he is a great middle round pick for your kind of guard center position.
Makes sense. Invest in the trenches. There's no question. Bringing Tony Baselli in as executive VP, the way the Rams ran, the way the Bucks ran, they're going to, and the way they did free agency, they're going to invest in the big guys. So, all right,
Here you go.
No,
Top of
There's
the
two
six,
people
and
here.
it's DK and Restrepo 1-2 as the two best available at this time.
boo.
No,
No,
I don't think we double dip wide receivers right now. I think we go Ty Hamilton or Kobe Bryant.
But here's the
Kobe
thing:
Bryant is my guy.
if Restrepo runs this 0.1 faster on his 40, like how much higher is he? I mean, he was a 1,000+ yard receiver. He dominated and was Cam Ward's #1 target. Like he has a knack for getting open. I'm not saying he should be like your top 3 picks, but if you're taking a flyer on the 6th round, who I think has top 3 round talent, I'm not opposed to that.
I'm not either. I had Restrepo extremely highly rated, and then he ran a 4.8. And Steve Smith still is very high on him. I love his content on wide receivers. I just think I would be very happy with him here. But to me, I'm gonna kind of put slam the table for Kobe Bryant just to get back-to-back great names. And he's a cornerback. He's undersized, so that's why he could fall, but he's a ball hawk. He made a ton of pass deflections, a ton of interceptions. And again, you're 6th round, so this is low risk, high reward. And the Jaguars defense could not get turnovers last year. So I like a guy that is going to gamble a little bit, but hyper competitive, was trash talking the whole Shrine Bowl, and again, has a pretty epic name.
No, yeah. I think he's very good. I don't think he would start. I think Jaron Jones would still play
Correct.
over him, but he could push Monteric Brown and all those other kind of average to below average corners that we have. And I think he could be the rotational corner. If anyone goes down, he could come in.
Yeah, brings depth again because Campbell's had a lot of injuries, so you need someone to be ready to go.
He's still there.
For the Jags.
I think you go Ty Hamilton, the brother of our guy already on the team.
Oh gosh, well that just made me nervous.
Yeah, but Hamilton was good until he got hurt.
He was really good, and then fell off a cliff.
You can go get the same gene pool that's not hurt.
I'm good with that pick.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, just to tell you all a little bit of who else on the board. So Hamilton's ranked about 130. So ESPN likes this pick a lot. So honestly, just kind of a lot of offensive linemen, which we've already double dipped on. A few wide receivers further down the board, but we're going to go Ty Hamilton, defensive tackle. Again, beef up the trenches. This is our second 6th round pick. So I believe we have one more, just one our own in the 7th. And so this is our final pick for the Jaguars.
Crazy that the Georgia linebacker would fall all in the 7th.
This is just probably just a crapshoot. This is just a guy you hope makes the team. And so I'm just going to scroll, and y'all tell me when to stop when you see someone who
I already got to
Dylan Gabriel, left-handed wonder.
No, I liked if you go back, Felton, the wide receiver from Virginia Tech, a very good tall, fast wide receiver. Or if you scroll back down, Diggs, the edge guy from Syracuse.
Deal.
I think edge or wide receiver is where you would want to double dip and add a little extra depth. Diggs is I think, a very fast edge guy. Beats you with speed. And then Felton did very well with Virginia Tech.
Gotcha. All right. The only position we didn't hit that we probably should have tried it, but there's a lot of position of needs, would have been tight end. So Luke from Iowa,
I don't think we draft a tight end
is available. I think we would if it made sense, but 7th round again, you're just trying to get a guy that that's going to make the team. So
I mean, you don't go sign 2 free agents, and we also have that rugby player that plays tight end, Van
Yeah,
Dam, or whatever.
he didn't make the team last year. Yeah, I mean, both those guys are your quintessential tight end 3. So, but in the 7th round, you're at best getting another tight end 3. So,
Yeah.
big,
Brewster was, I think, a 7th rounder back in the day, or not Brewster. Who's that tight end that we had for from Ohio State? The 3rd string guy that we would target from time to time.
oh, the guy that just went to the 49ers.
Yes.
Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Let me look that up. And Joey, you know these guys the best. A lot of these guys I'm vaguely familiar with, so we'll give you the keys one final time to make the final pick. And if you hate it, you can blame Joey for our last 7th round pick.
Well, I just want to I'm going to give you some of the information on the 2 people that I want to choose between, and that would be Felton and Diggs. Diggs, who played with Sarah. Hold on. Are you still there?
Yeah. We're
Okay.
still on.
Diggs, 6'5", 261 pounds, played for A&M for 4 years, and then transferred to Syracuse. 7.5 sacks last year, 1 forced fumble. The year before that at A&M had 4 sacks, and the year before that had 3 sacks. So he's constantly gotten better. Very good size for an edge guy. And then Felton is 6'5", ran a 4.5 40-yard dash, 213. Very tall, lanky wide receiver. So the question is for y'all, do you want to double dip on edge or double dip on wide receiver? I think there's a little more production with Diggs, but Felton could be a very good just depth guy for wide receiver.
Sorry, I was still looking up. Luke Farrell was the tight end that we were trying to think of. That was our tight end 3 last year. I guess, double dip on edge. We pound the table enough on it. Again, you just kind of hope this guy makes the team. Similar to Miles Cole last year, edge from Texas Tech, was an older guy.
7.5 sacks is very respectful.
Sure.
And then also played in the SEC for multiple years and started and had 4 sacks and 3 sacks in the SEC. So
and then had to get out to the ACC.
Having him at the 7th round would be pretty crazy.
All right, we're gonna take Diggs, edge from Syracuse, and we'll wait for the draft to finish, and then we'll read through all of our picks. And then what we'd love to hear from y'all, you can put the comments in YouTube. It's just your grade, the picks you love, the picks you maybe don't like, someone that you want us to pick that we missed. You can also, we'll post this on X at the Jag Bros too. So give us your thoughts there. But you want to kind of read through and recap this draft really quick?
So because nobody was available that we wanted on the defensive side, we went Will Campbell with the first pick in the 5th pick instead of deciding to trade down with Jayden Higgins, wide receiver from Iowa State, with the 2nd pick, so addressing that position of need. 3rd pick, we went edge with Josiah Stewart from Michigan. Our 4th pick, but still in the 3rd round, we went Jayden Reed, a safety out of Penn State. In round 4, we went Devin Neal, the running back out of Kansas. Demetrius Knight, the linebacker out of South Carolina, also in round 4. Round 5, we went Jackson Slater, a guard/center combo from Sacramento State. Kobe Bryant, the corner, out of Kansas as well. Ty Hamilton in the 6th round from Ohio State. And then our final pick, our 7th round, was Fadil Diggs, the edge guy that Joey was just hyping up out of Syracuse.
Go Jayhawks. Double dipped on Kansas. Well done, boys. I thought this was a fun mock. Felt good about it. Again, we're just a few days away from the actual draft, and we'll see what Gladstone, Coen, and the Jags do. But any kind of final thoughts before we wrap up and close this mock draft and get ready for the actual draft?
The only concern I have with this draft is we have no tight end.
Correct.
We drafted no tight end. Unlike Joey, I don't think Brendan Strange is our long-term answer. But that would be my biggest concern.
He can block, he can catch. He's not the best at it all, but he's above average, and that's all you need as a tight end. A tight end doesn't need to be this role like Travis Kelce or like Evan Ingram. Like, it's nice to have, but if you have two great wide receivers, when are you going to ever throw it to the tight end other than for a 3-yard, 5-yard play?
It's a silly take. I feel like the tight ends that are one of the
How
big
often did you see
differentiators.
the Rams
Look-
throw it to
Look at the best teams, Joey,
How
and that
often
just
do you
made the
see
playoffs.
Cade Otton get used? Like,
Look at the best teams and how their usage of the tight ends in the playoffs. You have Kansas City, obviously Kelce. You have the
Kelce did
Eagles.
nothing. He's a wash last year.
He was not a wash last year. I think
Well,
he still went for
he
1,000
led them
yards.
to 2 Super Bowl victories and like 6 AFC championships in a row as the best target.
And
Joey,
he still went for 100 catches last year at 820 yards. So like his nothing is significantly better than the production we usually get.
They don't have other wide receivers. They just got Worthy, who is starting to become a good wide receiver, but they're constantly no-name wide receivers on the Chiefs.
The 49ers have Kittle. The Lions have your boy that's really good
Laporta.
too.
Laporta.
Yes.
Bowers just had a monster rookie year, and Raiders maybe are an up. I'm gonna be honest. Joey and I have had this debate a bunch over text on our group chat. So I know we've been listening for a bit, and look, the reality is we're gonna see. I lean heavily towards tight end is you can improve not only number one on Brenton Strange. I think there's other positions you go, but the reality is both guys you picked up are tight end threes that maybe make the team. Only one of them in like 10 or 15 seasons has ever hit over 100 yards, which is about 8 to 10 yards a game. So you really don't have a tight end two who can even catch the ball on this team, but that's another debate for another team. What?
Hunter Long can catch the ball. I mean,
he's at one season over 100 yards in 7 or 8 years.
I mean, like that's what like Luke Farrell had before.
That's horrible. Luke Farrell is actually better than that. Hunter Long, saying Hunter Long is a decent receiving option is laughable, Joey.
I'm not saying that I'm saying as a backup tight end, like he can catch the ball. It's not like he has butterfingers.
We're going off the rails here. Y'all should see. I wish y'all could see some of the texts Joey and I have had on this.
Our team that we have just created, Cade Otton was not well utilized other than when Mike Evans
was the number 2 receiving
was out. Then they had to go to the tight end, and then the Rams never use a tight end. Like
I don't think Cade Otton is that good either, and they still had him as number 2. Yes, the receivers had injuries, but it's not like they never used him. He was essentially their wide receiver 3. So
Cade Otton still had was averaging in the last 3 seasons somewhere around 45 to 50 catches per season, and has gone up from almost 400 yards, 450 to 600 this past year. And he had some injuries
last season.
Yeah, Coen was only there 1 year. So
correct.
If you look, his 3 biggest games where all his production comes from were the 3 games where Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were out.
But that's a talent thing. You had 2 superstar receivers, and essentially, I mean, Cade Otton is Brenton Strange.
If they were healthy, Cade Otton would not
that's an insult to Cade Otton, Jack.
Well, sorry, Cade Otton is who we want Brenton Strange to be. Cade Otton is the ceiling of Brenton Strange.
I think that's fair.
Had a chance to start yet, like a full season.
He started at Penn State multiple seasons and had like 200 yards.
Very well when Evan Ingram was hurt. He did very well, and then he would have an incredible play, and then for some reason we never target him again. And that's because our
targets are earned, Joey. It's not like
no, coaching last year was such a miserable thing.
All right, wait. All right, before we wrap up, because this is just fun. Hang on, I gotta ask this last question.
Let me tell you what Brenton Strange's stats were. Year 1 with Jacksonville, he played 14 games, 5 catches for 35 yards. That's
JT.
Second year, he had equivalent to Cade Otton's worst year as a Buccaneer with 40 catches on 411 yards. Majority of that came when Ingram was out.
You're just splurting anything out. Go listen to the interview from Jarian Jones where he goes to the last coaching staff and says, I want to play outside corner. And who did we have playing outside corner? Buster Brown. You don't think Jarian Jones had a shot to outbeat Buster Brown, but the coaching staff wouldn't even let him go practice outside cornerback.
What does that have to do
Also,
with?
last
that's mute. You didn't have a slot corner, like so
You
you
didn't have
you have
nobody.
one hole to.
Jarian Jones was better at slot corner than Brown was.
Is more important than a slot corner. Go move Buster Brown to slot corner or anyone else.
Okay. Here's my question.
The slot corner is the most important position right now in defense, considering how frequently people target the slot.
You can make winger.
All those guys would be significantly worse.
100% of the time, a outside corner is.
No, it's not. The game is changing. The game is completely. The game is not the outside guy
on the field about 70% of the time as of right now.
I'm on Raw. All those guys are like Cooper Kupp. All those that position is critical. Like the teams.
Correct. CeeDee Lamb lines up a lot in the slot. Justin Jefferson lines up a lot in the slot.
Slot is important. But
it's critical. So what you'd rather have your backup safety playing slot corner, Joey? That makes zero sense. So. If we're moving Jarian Jones to the outside, then that just means we have a bigger gap in the slot corner position that we need to fill. But even still, your point is moot because we're talking about the defensive staff versus the offensive staff. So I don't know what your point is about Brenton Strange not seeing the field that he should have.
They didn't throw it to BTJ until the very end of the year when we were already out of the playoff contention. It only took us one game to realize that he was going to be a star, but heaven forbid Doug Peterson never figured that out. Oh, also, our offensive line are skinny, fast guys. But yeah, let's go under center where you need big, fat offensive linemen. But that's just not what we had. It was a bad run team that was not cohesive at all. You also kept putting a hurt Gabe Davis in who wasn't playing well, but yet he's still playing. And then Tank is doing better than Travis Etienne, but let's keep putting Travis Etienne out there, and hopefully he plays better. And no one ever lost their jobs, even if they played horribly, because
everyone lost their jobs.
And no one ever wanted to hype anyone up or coach anyone. And no, it was a terribly run team, and I don't accept anything that happened beforehand.
Okay, but fair. But look, Brenton Strange has never produced in his life. Like, he did not have numbers at Penn State. That's why I thought it was a big reach. Could he take the next step? Have we seen flash in the second year? Sure.
He's going to get 500, 600 yards. Maybe.
Which again, that's
huge.
K. Dotton.
But that's better than
that's what they want.
That K. Dotton is Brenton Strange's ceiling.
To wide receivers, and you occasionally throw it to the tight end. It's third down, 2 yards. And he's covered by linebacker. Let's just get it to him. And then when it's an actually second down and 8, we're throwing it to a wide receiver. It's first down and 10, and we're trying to play action pass. It's not going to tight end. It's going to BTJ because that's who you run your offense through, not your tight end.
Okay, but you got to have multiple people in the field because then everyone knows just to cover BTJ. But here's my question. Joey, are you going to be the president of the Brenton Strange fan club like you were last offseason for Gabe Davis, Mr. 1,400 yards?
No, I'm going to do exactly what I did with Tank Bigsby last year when all y'all thought he wouldn't even have 200 yards.
Which was a good call.
He's going to have about 600 yards. He's going to be utilized a good amount, but not always. And he's going to be a very solid tight end. But all y'all think he's garbage and doesn't exist. So
I don't think he's
happily
garbage.
Take the under 600.
I would take the under on 600 as well. That would be more yards than he's ever done in his life. Maybe high school, obviously, but that would be astounding.
Crazy when I said that about Tank.
Okay. We also said Gabe Davis was getting 1,400 yards this season, so we'll see.
Brenton Strange started 10 games last year, so we essentially saw pretty close to his ceiling.
As a lot of people are saying, he was playing hurt. And I understand he didn't play well. He started wide receiver last year.
10 games he started in an offense who, yes, you can say we didn't run it efficiently. But
year at Bills, he had 800 yards and like 8 touchdowns. I would assume that he would have done better here.
Doug heavily favors 2 tight end sets.
And he's talking Strange here.
Correct.
Wow.
Yes. Doug
Yeah, he
heavily
didn't run a
favors
two-tight end set
two
though
tight end
here.
sets and get
He
like
ran
a
two-tight
tight end
set
is important in
the
his.
Eagles, and everyone cried for it here in Jacksonville. But guess what? He never gave it to us.
Well, he did. It's just Brenton Strange was on the field 60% of offensive snaps.
Yeah, as a blocker. They never had him
No!
running a route.
No, he was out of receiver a ton.
He was like we targeted him a decent amount this past year. Like
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, we'll find out. We'll see what Gladstone and Coen and do they draft or do they not draft tight end? But we went long on Brenton Strange, but it was a fun mock draft. And again, we'll find out what the Jaguars do here in a couple days. Make sure to follow us on X. Make sure to check us out on YouTube and all social media platforms. We'll be back. We'll grade the draft after the draft as well. So make sure you subscribe, drop that 5-star rating as well. But until the draft, we will see what the Jacksonville Jaguars do, and we'll close it out in our signature fashion. Duval.